Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Anything Blows. My name's Enrique, and today I'm proud to be joined by the main man himself, and he is working out and he's just loving it. Johnny Clark. Johnny, how you doing, my man?
I'm all good, mate. Just trying to lose a bit of weight for the next show. So it's enough. I can work and lose weight, then why not? So welcome to the show.
I love to hear that. Are you trying to get that summer bod? Obviously, it's halfway through summer now.
Well, yeah, just to be a bit healthier. Yeah. Well done.
And just before I go on to your show, I have to talk about it. What did you make of England last night?
Listen, like, how can you moan? It was shit. Until we scored, I probably would have moaned because we would have been out. But it is what it is. If you're playing shit and winning, imagine when we start playing good. So
Yeah.
It is what it is, isn't it?
And how do you reckon we do in the bracket? Obviously, God willing, a victory against Switzerland next. Obviously, you can't overlook them. And then the semi-final, you have either Austria, Turkey, Holland, or Romania. And a potential final against one of the big boys in Belgium, France, Portugal, Germany, or Spain.
To be honest, we've got the easiest draw, haven't we? So it's the same as the last Euros, wasn't it? I thought we had the easy options and just get a tough final, don't we? That's we're improving each game. And we grind out the results, then we can't ask for much more. Just ain't very pleasing on the eye. And if I'm being honest, I fell in love with football at Euro 96. You know, I was watching it with all my family, dancing around the tables and that against Holland. Like, it's like probably the earliest memory of football. I don't think my kids have been falling in love with football at this tournament. Do you know what I mean?
No.
So, yeah. So fuck football, let's go boxing.
Let's go boxing. So talking about that there, and as you said, mentality. Talking about mentality, you're on the bike right now, and as you're saying, you're always grinding. So we kick off the card, and card kicked off about 5 p.m. an early card. And just before we break it down, how good and how proud are you to have Charlie Parsons there? Obviously Oscar as well, but to have it on the stomping ground.
Yeah, no, it worked very well, and I don't know if you've seen like their collabs with me and DAZN. So it was not to get a thing, you know. You got to keep grinding. If people ain't listening, you got to show them. That's my motto. So yeah, it's just a bit strategic, and it worked very well. You know, a lot of people was complimentary of the stream, of the fights, and of the event. So if they can't stop looking, you know, they're going to have to keep looking at us.
I love to hear that. So now going on to the first fight of the night, and he usually always kicks off the card, and he's always proud to be on your show, having his 5th professional contest with you now. Zach Fee against Steven Jackson. A tough, tricky journeyman. Obviously, as he had with Jake Pollard in the last one, they do come to survive. They do come to talk off. I believe he did have a few opportunities in the 3rd or 4th round to hurt him and try a game out of there, but he beautifully boxed with Alec Wilkie in his corner and Billy Rumble's team. What do you make of Zach Fee against Steven Jackson?
Yeah, it ticks all the boxes. I think you hurt him a couple of times. Yeah, it was very good. I do think he does need a tiny step up, but he is still young. So every team want to build him, they can build him. But it'd be nice to get him in a starting youth title fight, I think. I know he's ready. And, you know, you see Jimmy Lee the weekend, what it meant to him when he won. He cried again, didn't he? I don't know if you see.
He did cry again. And just before we move on that, could you see Zach out on your September show or November show, or is that a bit too soon?
I'm not sure yet, to be honest with you. We had quite a few people wanting to jump on, so just want to try and lock in my main event. And when that's sorted, I can have a look through the rest of the card, you know?
100%. And now going on to the next contest of the night. First female on the card, first female bout, Elizabeth Ashoba versus Augustina Marisa. She stopped her, correct me if I'm wrong, was it in 3rd round TKO?
Yeah, 3rd, but I think my media team wrote 4th.
What do you make of that?
No, I think she I think when I see the shape of her opponent, I thought it wasn't going to be long. She hadn't been in the ring for a while either, Elizabeth, so it was more about getting some rounds in. And it took a lot of stress to get her match as the WBC silver champ. And yeah, a lot of people wanted a lot of money to fight her, obviously. This one had to come from Argentina. But yeah, it was expected. When I see the opponent, I expected it to be that way. But now I think she's got 2 big fights coming up. And she called out Sky Nicholson straight away.
She did on my interview. I was literally about to mention that there. Do you see that being the next matchup? Obviously, she's managed by Lee Eaton. Do you see that or no?
I think Sky's got a fight lined up, to be fair. But
Mhm.
she's obviously flying for it, isn't she? She's climbing up the ranking. So, yeah, I wish her well.
100%. And now, 50-50 about that. Dan Francis said people shouldn't be sleeping on this fight. Nikolai Campbell versus Jackson Asagi knocked him down. Was it the 5th round? I can't remember what round he knocked him down in.
It's a pretty even fight, I think. Pretty even until the knockdown. But it was good. I like Nikolai. He's a good lad. Very stylish as well. I don't know if you see his socks. He had his face printed on his socks. He's it was good because Nikolai's opponent obviously dropped out on him, and then he could have gone in against the journeyman, tucking up. It'd have been shit for him, shit for the show. But yeah, he took on a game opponent in Jackson. Both of them are welcome back on. You know, they both come to fight. They both come back on.
And true professionals. And just to mention that the American Nikolai was scheduled to fight. Was that a journeyman or was that a prospect or no?
No, prospects. Yeah, he was going to come over and pay Nikolai a purse, and then he dropped out. So then Nikolai had to sell tickets. He had to take a loss, and none of us earned off the fight. So, but the main thing was that he still fought.
And you talking about making us, and I'll continue the rest of the card, and I don't want to focus on the negatives, but you had originally George versus Grant Dennis, you had the Southern Area title fight, you had Harley's fight pull out. Obviously, you're no strangers to saving the shows and always having the show sacked as last minute. Compare this to your other shows, and I should have left this for last, but compare this to your other shows. Would you say this was one of the most stressful to match up? Because I think this was equivalent. I think you had 8 or 9 cancelled bouts.
11 opponents dropped out. So even the people that we was replacing, they ended up dropping out of medical issues, and yeah, it was the most stressful, and probably because I wanted it the most, you know. Obviously, having all the matching team on, I wanted it to be a perfect show, but yeah, it ended up good still. But obviously, like, the numbers are great, but I know it could have been better if I had that heavyweight Southern Area on there. Well, and for me, that would have been a perfect show. So at least I didn't have a perfect show. I've still got to work towards that. So yeah, I still see myself having a few challenges.
Love to hear that, and you always save the show. So now Oluwatosin Kujawa versus Adam Sislak in a decision victory.
Yeah, again, very, very tough opponent, Adam. You know, I don't think he was ever going to get out of there. I think Adam hurt his hand. Tosin hurt his hand. So, yeah, but again, you're coming on and fighting a journeyman. This result was expected, you know, like I was watching it. And where I reckon the team, Daniel, you just think, I hope they just don't get hurt. And Tosin comes and gets his win like he's meant to. But for me, like, I prefer the 50-50 fights tonight. So I love someone who was coming to take his head off, you know, so it'd have been even. But if you'd have seen that, then Tosin, he would have took the opponent's head off himself. But obviously, where it was a journey, we come to survive to fight next week. It was still entertaining. But I just knew what way it was going to end up. You know what I mean? So I wasn't too invested in the fight, if I'm being honest, you know. I'd rather have him as a game opponent, but the problem is no one's game enough to take him on the short notice.
100%, and that shows his mentality. Now, moving on to James Ozzy Osborne versus Victor Edgar. He dropped him down, I believe, in the first round or second, and he also had him against rope, because I believe when I watched it, I thought he'd step back because he thought the ref was going to stand in or come in for that moment. But Victor Edgar, tough. I believe that was his 100th fight that night, and yeah, it was a great performance from Ozzy. Obviously, he did wish he could have got the stoppage, and what he said on my interview after is, when you go looking for it too much, it never comes. But yeah, what do you make of Ozzy's performance, and is it right to say we can push him on to title contention next?
I've asked for the Southern Area for him, but I don't think the Southern Area champ wants it with Ozzy yet. So we're trying to push our way in line for that. He deserves it. This fight was going to be a 50-50, but again, the opponent pulled out and was fired on him. So he's had 3 opponents with winning records and beat them all. So now, out of everyone in the Southern Area, it should be him fighting for the title. Now, not saying he wins the title, because the champion's very good. He knocked someone out in the first round on the Rosserman show, I believe. But he's no pushover, and it's a fight that I'd love to see. But I think Ozzy against Victor, I didn't see him throw a jab, but I don't think he normally does. I think he went through a lot in this camp, suffered a cut, wife had a broken leg, and his daughter was actually in hospital while he was fighting. She's out now, bless her. So it just shows, I don't think he wanted to jab anyone that night. I think he just wanted someone. And trust me, I'm glad it weren't me in that ring.
Bless her soul too. Glad to hear she's okay, and it just shows he did on the jab someone out that night. So now moving on to this card, and we would have loved it because you'd have had Will Jones or you would have had the Edge Sable out there. Alex Branson Cole, it was scheduled to be Taylor Jordan, and that's a clear 50-50 as you get. Ended up being Daniel Pressville Slick, butchered that. But yeah, what do you make of Alex's performance that night, winning by decision again?
It was expected again, you know. When the opponent drops out late, you keep the fighter on, you do everything you can, and lucky enough, Daniel was coming over with Angelica as her coach and with Adam Sislak. So it was like, listen, I was used with brain. I said, why don't you come on and fight? But then we had to order a coach over in Irish to look after Angelica after Daniel's fight. But yeah, it was expected. He hasn't lost, has he, Alex, on my show? I do think he's got another level in him. And I think, like I said, he needs someone coming at him to find that level. You know, and I think like he does need to step up in a 50-50. So hopefully I can find him one.
And do you think that Taylor Jordan fight can be remade?
No, he's retired. He's got an eye injury.
Oh.
So, that's what I mean. And with thing with Taylor, Taylor's very good outside of boxing. He's very set, got a lovely business, lovely family. And boxing was more about coming back into the game and ticking boxes. And he ticked a box, had the walkout that he always dreamt of. But then he wanted to win the title. What's the point? He abseils off the side of buildings for work. What's the point of him coming and damaging his eye even more?
Yeah.
Not being able, you know, it's not worth it.
No.
Whereas everyone in this game would love to have what Taylor's got outside of boxing. That's the wife, 2 kids, and the business. So I said, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just focus, bro. You know what I mean?
100%, and safety comes first. And as you said, he's doing great outside of life, so you don't want to damage that. So now, moving on, like I said, these last 4 fights and all the fights on your card, stacked from top to bottom, 50-50s, as I said, debutants, title fights. Only the one title fight on the night, but P.A. Gordon versus Kevin Revell in the Southern Area middleweight title. P.A. Gordon defends his Southern Area against Kevin Revell, 97-93. It was a great fight. What did you make of both men, Kevin and also P.A.?
PA was very good. He used his attributes very well. I think he was better than what Kevin and his team probably thought. I thought Kevin was going to win the fight after round 2. I was pretty confident. And then as the fight went on, I was sitting further in my seat at the front, start of the fight, man. Elbows on my knees, my hands in my mouth, you know, all nervous and that. Feeling sick watching it because obviously I've helped build Kevin and I know his family now. And then as the fight went on, I sat back to say, I was gutted for him. Just see what way it was going. See him struggling with the fitness. Trained hard for it, but if he hadn't done 10 rounds before, the advantage was with P.A. Gordon who had done 10 rounds, you know. He knew he had it. He probably sat there and said, he ain't going to make it that towards the end. Just make sure you're in the fight and then run away with it at the end. That's what I imagine the style was, and use that long jab he has. And he's done that very well, very well. So well done, PA. I'd love back on. I'd love the Southern Area to headline my next show, you know, with George Liddard. But I don't think I could be too greedy and keep taking his matchroom boxes.
I love to hear that. And now talking about that, mentioning George Liddard, we go on to George Liddard, proudly having West Ham in the background there. Obviously, I've known George for about a year now, or around a year, and finally had him on for 2 interviews, never been able to get one done. Nothing makes me prouder than talking about West Ham. And obviously, one day we'll get the London Stadium sold out. We'll be pitch side, we'll be doing our interviews there. But talk about it, George Liddard versus S.A. Smith. S.A. Smith, as you said, he knocked down our boy Alfie Gaskin. He beat Alfie Gaskin. He drew with River Wilson Bent. He came in their game, and he's a full-time farmer as well. So he comes from Cornwall. So he showed his tough and his grit. And George said, I asked him, where does the knockout power come from? And he said, it's not about the knockout power. It's about placing the shots and the timing. And he knocked him down in the first 10 seconds. And then S.A. managed to hold on for the next 5-6 rounds, and he gave it back. It wasn't the back and forth war we expected, but it was a good fight.
Listen, I think he made a a very good name for himself on that fight, and George, because Alfie Gaskin was sat behind me and he told me how good, how good actually Dave Smith is, and I said I can see it, and that's why we wanted him. It is a weight above what George fights at, so the punches would have been harder coming back at him as well. But do what he done in that first 10, 15 seconds probably made the fight a bit harder for George, because when you think knock someone down and you're going to get them out, you have to fucking get back mentally, didn't you?
Yeah.
And realise it's going to be a bit longer night than what expected after that first 10 seconds. Because you imagine you naturally going to get excited, you know, you just dropped it. So, yeah, there's that side of it. But then, if that was a 10 or an 8 rounder, I don't think his corner would have let him gone on much longer. He was hurt when both his eyes were gone. And if you're in the third, say we're going to look at you the next round, he comes back, fourth, you think, all right, I could do this, it's only 6 more minutes, you know, but if there was 10 rounds, then I do think he would have, the corner would have pulled him out. That's spoke about it, and I think that would have happened.
And just before we move on from that, so correct me if I'm wrong, is George contesting at middleweight now?
Yeah, so he's a middleweight fighter. That fight was done at 165. So a little catch between super middle and middle. But that's what he wants next. He wants the southern area middleweight.
Could we get that done with PA and him?
I would love to, but it's whether PA wants that, isn't it? Or whether the board make that as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how proud were you? Obviously, we'll conclude it when we conclude the main event, but how proud were you having not only a Matchroom boy, not only a Billy Ricky boy, an Essex lad, but a West Ham faithful?
Yeah, listen, they probably felt what home and I felt what home talking to them, you know. Sometimes, like, you see these on TV, you see like Tony Sims on TV, and when you talk to you just feel like, yeah, it's one of the lads. You know what I mean? Like, locals, West Ham, all love boxing, and all our family support us. So when you're around them kind of people, you kind of gel, you know.
And now moving on to the co-main event, and I was so proud when I saw her on co-main event, and I asked Leon Sudbury, and Leon done a little bit of convincing to get her on this, but Lily Winch versus Angelica Oles in her professional debut. Just break it down, and as professional debuts go, is it one of the best you've seen and had on your shows?
Yeah, because the fight before was obviously the co-main, and I had to split them up because Tony Sims couldn't do the pads and whatnot, and it's a bit unfair on Jimmy. As he fight as well. So I had to split them. And I thought, who better to split them with than a debut? Someone who sold a lot of tickets, because debuts you normally do. And the way she lost her weight and conducted herself, I just wanted her to have a special moment. Because that's what boxing's about, isn't it? Moments, memories, and legacy. And then the way she acted, she deserved that spot. And on the ring walk, you see her like the little bounce she had in that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like that. And then after about round 3, the swagger come out, you know, and she was smiling, looking at the crowd after, like, in between rounds and that. And I thought, yeah, we got our mum and sister next to us, their hands were shaking. That's how I felt with Kevin Revell. I was like, yeah, this is what it's about, you know, giving people their memories, because, listen, around our area, you know, there's not much to do, is there? So you can give someone a focus and show them the goals are there. Yeah. And the best thing of being in between two matchroom people as well is showing how close you are to them. You know, like when you've got a world champion that joins your gym, they train a certain way and you follow them and think, I've got to do what they do. So Lily done what they done, so she deserved that spot. And when I say that, what I mean is she done her media work, she done her weight loss, she done the tickets, everything was correct, you know, so you can't fault her. So that's why I give her the spot.
I love to hear that, and it was an incredible performance. Just before we conclude the main event, do you see her being back on your show in September or November, or do you just see what Leon does with her now?
To be honest with you, obviously they're going to want to come back on, but I'll just see what's going on with my main event, because with many tickets, that'd be unfair.
Yeah. No, of course. And now going on to your main event, as I say, and I call him the king of Brentwood, Jimmy Sains versus Remy Scholar. And because all of the talk came from Remy's knocked out Jack Oliphant, and it came. This isn't going to be an easy fight, and I appreciate what you've done there as well, because it wouldn't have been fair because it was literally back to back. So Tony wouldn't have had time, and it wouldn't have been fair on Jimmy. So you give him a little bit of a break, and yeah, Jimmy knocked him out in the third round. Correct me if I'm wrong, if not fourth round. Was you making that performance? Hometown boy, hometown hero, and you couldn't have written a better script. Not only from Brentwood, not only from Essex, headlining your hometown, but to get a knockout in the main event.
I think it was a legendary night for Brentwood. I think a lot of people are talking about boxing in Brentwood that night because we had a Brentwood boy on, saying that I've kind of missed, if I'm being honest. If I could get him back on, that would be great. It made my job easier. But if I'm being honest as well, it was an honour and a pleasure, you know, to stand in the ring afterwards with Jimmy and Tony Sims, John Ryder in the corner, Peter Sims. I've watched you all on TV. I've actually bought tickets to go and watch Jimmy in Manchester for my birthday. Like, I'm fans of all of them. And, yeah, it was a real honour. And I think it was perfect. Like, the ring walk, he milked it, played 2 songs, had a promo video. He come out on time with his arm raised, soaked it up. The fireworks went off, didn't they? The smoke, the walk to the ring. I had goosebumps. I'll be honest, I had goosebumps. And then Harry boxed, variation of the jab to the body to the head. I watched it back like you were just doing, and the commentator said, it's got a Golovkin like jab, very strong. And saying how he can punch. He's so calm. But mate, he is so spiteful when he wants to be. I've never seen anything like it, just the way he switches. You know, like he's just standing there all calm, lets off, and the opponent's on the floor. I'm like, what? You can see the video of him stopping me standing up like never seen me smile that much in Australia. You know what I mean? So it was a perfect ending to a perfect show.
I love to hear it. And talking about perfect endings here, just before I let you go, and we have a few fights announced. Stelios versus Crocker in the next one, and I believe Elliot Wales, so I believe 2 European title fights there. But before I let you go, and we'll break that one down another day, were you most looking forward to the September show, and what can fans think of that?
Yeah, September, that small hall, I'm punching above my weight. And a European title in a small hall is well above a small hall weight, you know. The money's a bit, like boxers are going to need sponsors to bring them type of titles on. So, yeah, it's an honour to promote an IBF European and IBO European title. It's above small hall level. Like, you have to understand, small hall, the money in the gate is what pays for everything, you know. So promoters, we don't earn money. It all goes into the show. The boxers get paid and then the show gets paid. But it's hard, you know. So to get 2 of them titles on, we've done very well. And I think could possibly 3 or 4 titles, you know. Ooh. So, yeah, it possibly, you know. But then we have this, and then you never know. But now we're only 10 weeks out. We're not going to do the media day to 3 weeks out because so many changes happen. Yeah. We're going to do the title fights. Yeah, and then we're going to lock in, get our head down, and put another great show. But it's going to be a very, very hard show to follow. Very hard show to follow. Because as you know, like normally we do the same amount of numbers, but they're spread out over 10 fights. Where at the end, the atmosphere was crazy.
Yeah.
It was dead. Not dead, but it was like, ooh. Like you hear the noises, but it wasn't like 100 tickets that fight, 100 tickets that fight, 200 that, 100 that.
Yeah.
Like the 80, and then at the end, like 400, 600, 800, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was different. So it's going to be hard to follow that last fight main event atmosphere, where the main events on my previous shows have been the title fights or the Ursus that they ain't the ticket sellers. You know what I mean? So this show, obviously, Crocker and Papadopoulos will be the main event, but they can't go last because one's from Wales, one's from Greece. They're not bringing over people; they're just coming to fight.
Yeah.
So put them last. So you can imagine Jimmy Hussein's performance like that with no one there. It'd be weird, wouldn't it? So
yeah,
and start a big ticket seller in for a main event again. That's what's changed me.
And just to let you go, how proud are you of this mentality code that you put together? Because as you spoke about, it was about Kevin's mentality and your mentality, and ranking this compared to your last few shows. Where did you put it up there?
Atmosphere, number 1. I'll be honest with you, I think we've had better fights on previous shows. You know, because I've got nominated for Fight of the Year and whatnot. But yeah, for money money side of it, like nearly broke even. So I'd have to put it in the top 2, but for atmosphere, the top 1.
Love to hear it.
How proud I felt of myself afterwards, it'll be number 1.
And just to let you go, what's the message to the fans that came to that night and that will come to support in September?
Yeah, just keep on coming. We want to make it a night out in Brentwood. You know, like the place to be. Like, you know, if you come, you're going to see good fights, a good night, you know, good service. Just could have done with a bit of aircon, but that'll be.
Yeah, that is true. But what would you say is hotter in the summer, the Brentwood Centre or York Hall?
Oh, you're cool by far.
Yeah. Just so I let you go, Johnny, Clark, anything else you want to say, or are we sweet with that?
Bag on night, 30 minutes. Well done. I'm ready to
Cheers.
get off the start.
God bless. Sorry, I've kept you on it a bit long. Cheers. God bless, my man.
See you
Take
later.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.